Welcome back, everybody. This is your fantasy football dad. We are drafting a best ball team for the divisional round, and I think this might be possibly the last best ball draft for the 2025-26 season. We are going to be right back at it, though, for the next season, and that doesn't start soon enough, but we are going to be done the best ball drafts after this. So we're just trying to get back on one last chance. It was a crazy wild card slate. Some of my stands did not work out. I was heavy on Jacksonville, heavy on Green Bay, and although they put up a good fight, and I think they kind of both were responsible for their demise. With Jacksonville maybe not running the ball enough. That's been the talk all week, and maybe Green Bay, I don't know what the hell they were doing running the ball. They weren't even calling the right timeouts. I just think it was a complete mess. I would have been looking really good on a lot of my teams. I did make some teams through on the majority of the LA Rams and some of the Chicago Bears I did take kind of worked out. But I would have been doing so much better if Jacksonville and Green Bay had pulled through. Did lose a lot of good teams just because I didn't have enough exposure for the guys that kind of went off. But if Jacksonville and Green Bay would have got through, a lot of the teams that are now still alive but only have really 4 players or not going to have a full roster, those would have looked really good. But and I think another one was also the Philadelphia Eagles, right? That was a big upset as well. I assumed the Eagles were going to go through, so I had a lot of teams that had 5 Eagles on it. So that was a big disappointment. But I think that was the case for a lot of people. I think a lot of people had Jacksonville and Green Bay, and maybe not the Eagles one, but I think a lot of teams, didn't get through or got through and are now kind of not having the full roster as they move on to the divisional and the conference finals and the Super Bowl. So it is quite a bit of grind, a lot of luck involved, but that's how it is with best ball. And even in a 1 week sample, it kind of shows you you can't take anything for granted, and also things are wacky on the NFL streets. But with that, like I said, let's get into the divisional round. As you can see, the play action is still alive and well. It's pretty much more than half full now, with about 24 hours left until the divisional round starts. So might be that it might not fill, and I'll be interested to see if it does. Still, like I said, a little bit less than half left, but at the same time, it's only 20 entry max. So if it was 150 entry max, I think it would have been full by now. But the 20 entry max kind of does limit its ability, I think, to get full off this one. So we'll start with that, and I'll kind of walk through our strategy. So there are going to be the 4 games, as we know. It's going to be Chicago and LA, which is probably going to be the shootout we expect. There are some weather concerns, but just given the nature of the 2 teams, Chicago's defense, I think it will be considered a high-end shootout. And then the other 3 games look like a little bit more of a little bit more defensive battles. Obviously, we know the New England Patriots Texans will be very a close one to call. Very 2 good defenses and 2. I like the New England offense, but at the same time, it kind of goes to show last week with the LA Chargers, who also have a good defense, that the offense could be hard pressed for points at times. So, them, and then also San Francisco and Seattle. We know what Seattle did on Week 18 to San Francisco, but San Francisco playing with house money right now. But they did lose a big piece of their team in George Kittle. So it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of pull off that magic and come back and possibly get a win, right, when it matters the most in the playoffs. Sam Darnold is not a model of consistency, and he is prone to turning it over. So if you got to get on him, maybe tune in on that run game. Try to stop that at all costs, and maybe have Darnold try to beat you. That might be the best way for the 49ers to kind of go through on that game. And then we have the Bills and the Broncos, very close game. Obviously, Josh Allen pulled through, got the win against Jacksonville. Similar type of defense. Maybe Denver's defense is a little bit better, but I think Denver's offense is not as good as Jacksonville's offense. So it'll be interesting to see how Denver attacks Buffalo. Obviously, we know the Buffalo Bills have challenges in the run game. So will it be R.J. Harvey or will it be Bo Nix kind of hitting the right plays at the right time and kind of getting them through? Buffalo is hurting. Unfortunately, you only have there's I think they lost like three wide receivers just after week 18 and then last week in the wild card. So they're down to Brandon Cooks, Khalil Shakir, and Keon Coleman. Doesn't really strike fear into the hearts of the Denver Broncos secondaries, which is awesome. So it'll be interesting to see how they attack this game. James Cook, as we saw, didn't have a great game against Jacksonville. They kind of shut him down. So if Denver does that again, then and Josh Allen has to rely on his pass catchers, whether it be the tight ends or the wide receivers. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of just make enough plays just to kind of get through. So a little bit of strategy involved in how you think this is how everyone's going to approach this. Like I said, the games are pretty close. I think the one that obviously with the spread being so high, you think Seattle will make it through. The Rams and Bears could be kind of close, right? The Rams kind of got a scare from the Panthers last week. Obviously Matt Stafford last touchdown drive gets them the win. But imagine if that didn't go that way, right? They would have been out. So we talking about the Carolina Panthers at this stage, and that's not something you really want to be talking about in a divisional round of the NFL playoffs. But hey, could happen, right? That's how it is. One game sample, one game situation. Whoever comes to play is the one that's going to walk away. And if you're not ready, or for some reason things don't go your way that day, and it's your unlucky day, you could be going home. So. Like I said, there's a little bit of strategy. If you're going to make a stand on a couple of teams, you're just going to believe that they're going to make it to the conference finals and potentially make it to the Super Bowl. So, you just kind of have to kind of navigate the draft that way. But I think, like I said, it's too close to call. So maybe I think the one thing I learned, obviously, in wild card, and I've learned from last year's playoffs, is kind of be easy on the stands. As much as if I think that Buffalo and Josh Allen's going to win, you always have to kind of factor in that, hey, what if he does lose and Denver makes it to the conference final and they make it to the Super Bowl, right? And build your team that way, that Denver is going to go all the way, or it could be possibly Houston, right? For example, if Houston upsets New England, gets the conference final, catches Denver or Buffalo, with Nico Collins coming back, hopefully for the divisional round, for the conference finals. Houston Texans that can go to the Super Bowl. So you got to get kind of different. As you know, there's only 8 teams, so your selections are limited. You got to kind of create that story or that narrative that anything could happen. Maybe you're loading up on Houston thinking they're going to the Super Bowl. That might be really unique. Super Bowl final of Houston and San Francisco, for example. That's going to be very unique. And not a lot of teams are going to have Houston and San Francisco stacked. But if you somehow pull it off, if Houston or San Francisco pull it off and get to the conference finals, put up some big points there, and you have all their players, and you get to the Super Bowl, the chances of you winning are very high. Obviously, like I said, it's not going to be a very unique combo, but I think maybe we should try it. Let's see what happens. Let's try to go for a Stroud and Purdy stack. Like I said, you have to be kind of willing to be different. When you have these many people and the pool of players is very minimal. So a little bit of strategy, like I said, involved. Kind of keep with your favorites, obviously. Maybe a Buffalo and Rams. Maybe look a bit different in adding in different players. As we know some of the Buffalo pass catchers can be different because there's a lot on injured reserve. So now you can kind of factor in the Colemans and. Obviously Shakir did awesome with his 12 catches for 80 yards. That's crazy. But that many catches and only 80 yards. But, add in Keon Coleman now, and maybe add in a Curtis Samuel that's coming off IR. So that's maybe a little wrinkle there that a lot of people won't take advantage of. But if for any reason Buffalo was to get to the Super Bowl and you have Curtis Samuel, that's not highly owned, he might be the guy that catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl and propels your team to a win if you get everything else right on both sides. So players like that you kind of have to get. I'm still a fan of Ty Johnson. I know his ankle has been keeping him out kept him out of the wild card round, but he is a big part of the offense. And so, if, for example, Ty Johnson plays this week, and if not, maybe take him and then and hope that Buffalo does make it to the conference finals or Super Bowl, and he's back next week and for the Super Bowl. So those are little wrinkles you can kind of add into your team. Maybe take up a spot, just hoping that if you get that team right from either the AFC or NFC, that and end up in the Super Bowl, you have that one player that can kind of do something in the Super Bowl that a lot of teams won't have, whoever's in the final with you. So think outside the box, for one or two picks, I think. But, obviously you want to kind of advance. You got to get there. So like I talked about before, you have to kind of get into the next round. And if you don't win your pod, doesn't matter who you have, you are out anyway. So you do need to have the right players that can kind of get you through. So you want to try to load up on those guys, obviously. But yeah, you just don't know how a little wild card of a pick can end up if you are able to make it to the finals. So with that, let's get started. Let's move on and let's start the draft here. So we're right in here, and we'll be picking out of the 4 slots. A little bit different from the wild card round. Obviously, there's more players in that pool, and so there were 6 players in your pod. In this case, there's only 4, so it's it's a little bit narrow, obviously. But like I said, the player pool matters. There's the high-end players that are very minimal out of the 8 teams, and you're going to have only a few that you can kind of possibly land as you navigate your draft. So in this case, I'm looking at pick 4 and 5, and around that area, you got Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, and Drake May, and Cam Cortland Sutton rounding out the top 10. So you kind of can navigate and figure out how you want to go about building. Obviously, you have the choice of if 1, 2, 3 go the way they are in ADP, you have the choice between possibly a Drake May or a Matthew Stafford team, and kind of building your team that way. For this one, it's most likely I'll probably stick to an LA build. I'll start off with the Stafford and Adams most likely, if anything doesn't crazy happen, and kind of go from there. Just hoping that I can catch an LA run to the Super Bowl. I think obviously Devontae Adams is back, no setbacks from his injury, played last week. Didn't have the best of games. I think got the number of targets though, and he was getting targeted a lot, but only 5 catches for 72 yards, no touchdowns. So only 12.2 points, but obviously the usage is there. And if we think it's the highest scoring game against the Bears, that possibly can go up. So if he adds a touchdown in or 2, we're looking at a really totally different number. And he has been a touchdown machine up until his injury. So as you can see here, 3 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns, 1, and then 2 and 2. As you can see, that's a big part of his game. Obviously being used around the red zone. Yeah, we'll probably try to see if we go with the LA. I do want to try to do that San Francisco Houston just for kicks, just to see, for example, like I said, if it was to go through, that would be crazy. But let's try to go through with a Stafford and Adams pick, and then we'll obviously see what happens. There's a lot of different combinations that can come through based on the players that are available. The second round's always kind of wonky. So yeah, let's go with a Stafford and let's go with Adams here. And so I'll try to build out building my team that way. Second round's kind of is going to be kind of wonky. Like I said, these next few picks in the first and obviously the second and the third round turn, guys pick random players. So we'll see who's available to us. Most likely we might have Shakir available. And I think the benefit of Shakir is that, listen, I know it's not 100 yards, 12 catches, but 12 catches from 82 yards adds up to 20 points, which is really big. So even though he only had 80 yards, but the 12 points right there just on receptions alone gets you 20 points. That's maybe all you need to kind of help your team get through. So and he's part of Buffalo, so if Buffalo wins, you kind of are still alive, and you can possibly be looking at an LA Buffalo Super Bowl. That's the way I kind of go about building this team. So, like I said, it does matter on who's available. So, but I really do like, yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive taking Buffalo and Denver because I'm only going to get one through. But like I said, we obviously think RJ Harvey has a good spot because Buffalo's run defense not the greatest. That's not their strength. So that's possibly a way I can kind of get through that way. And I really don't think that's a bad way to approach it. Like I said, you just have to kind of get through to the conference finals, and maybe then at that point I can kind of make up for whoever I lose. I can also go the other way that I think Denver's going to win. So I think that might be the way I'll approach this one. So I'll take Harvey and I'll take Cortland Sutton. So let's kind of go for this team as a LA and Denver Super Bowl, or an LA Denver are going to move on to the conference finals. So so it's going to be a little bit of a different build in this one. I'm going to mix, like I said, I'm going to try to maybe grab as many Denver and LA Ram players I can get, and then sprinkle in some other players from the other teams just to kind of help me get through to the next round. So Dalton Kincaid goes. I think I'm going to take Charbonnet. I'll take Charbonnet as one of my pieces to be able to get through. And then I'll take Colby Parkinson to get my tight end. So the reason I took Charbonnet is, just as an advanced piece for Seattle. And if, for example, they win and LA wins, they don't play each other till the conference final. So at that point, I'm okay. And so I'm just using Charbonnet right now to get as an advanced piece and hopefully put up a good score against those 49ers. He did do that the week they played in week 18, 18.7, added in a rushing touchdown, ran 17 times for 74 yards, added 3 catches. So overall, a good score. He's kind of trusted around the red zone. And when the team gets in close, he's the one that's usually on the goal line. So last 3 weeks have been pretty good, 17, 29, and 18. So I'm hoping that momentum of and Seattle being a favorite can kind of help me advance using his score. The next player I'm going to try to get is, I'm going to go after Corum. Yeah, so I'm going to add Corum in so I can kind of build up more Rams. So now I have 4 of the 6 I need for the Rams, and I'm just missing a wide receiver and a flex. So let's add in Troy Franklin now, just to kind of add to my Denver stack. So right now I have Stafford, RJ Harvey, Devontae Adams, Cortland Sutton, Parkinson, and I have enough for a full roster for the LA and Denver stack. So if they make it to the Super Bowl, I'll be good on that front. So I can kind of probably look at other players. Might want to look at maybe possibly a Higbee or an Ingram. And then, so like I was saying, I already have enough Rams. I have 4 Rams. So if I can add another one, I'll potentially just need a wide receiver from the AFC that if for example, it's not Denver, Denver makes it through, but possibly New England makes it the other side. And kind of maybe add a Booty, but I think Booty might be gone already. Sorry, I haven't been really following the draft. Yeah, so Keyshawn Booty's gone. So I'll have to kind of fill in the gaps with that. So let's take Higbee on that. And I'm going to add in. Gonna add in Roma Dunze, kind of back into that Chicago. I know it's counterintuitive because I have LA, but I'm just hoping that Dunze has a decent game in that game, and is able to kind of add some points to as an advanced piece. So that's my whole thinking of getting him through. I think for this one, I'll probably stick to a one quarterback build. So I'm really going to be hoping that LA is able to make it to the Super Bowl because I only have Stafford. So I think that's a big gamble I'm taking. But I think with Stafford, if I my team's already heavy on LA, so I'm just hoping that if LA does make it, I'm good. But if they don't, for any reason, this team's already pretty much dead. So let's just kind of stick to Stafford and hope that he's able to kind of pull it through. Like I said, I have enough pieces for like I have 5 LA Rams, so I'm okay. I just need a wide receiver from any of the teams, so I'll be okay if New England or Buffalo is able to get through. So maybe adding in a Keon Coleman. Who already got picked too? Man, I really need to follow this draft. Yeah, so Keon Coleman's gone. So let's in Pat Bryant here. And now I can add one more person in. Who do I think could probably possibly add to my team here? Let's take Ricky Pearsall as another advanced piece. So I'm going to be going with. I could have taken another tight end, and I was looking at Dawson Knox, but I just kind of stayed away from Buffalo at this point, and just kind of went with Ricky Pearsall. I think he's going to be back this week. They're going to need him. They're going to need to pass him the ball. Kittle's not there, and so I think that Ricky, if he's playing, could be a good advanced piece again to help me kind of get through and help with this Denver and LA Rams Super Bowl build that I kind of have. So I'll kind of go through my team here. It goes pretty fast. You don't really get much time to kind of talk. So I'll kind of maybe next time just do the draft and talk about the team after. But as you can see, let's see here. So I went with Stafford and Devontae Adams as my pick. So now for the LA Rams, I'm all in. I have Stafford as my quarterback. I took Blake Corum after that later in the draft. So I have Stafford, Corum as my running back, Devontae Adams as my wide receiver, and then I have Parkinson and Higbee as a flex and tight end. So really, if the LA Rams are good to get through, I can consider just another wide receiver to fill in the gap as a sixth player on this team. But I did kind of go all in on Denver as well. So I took RJ Harvey as my running back, and I have all 3 wide receivers. So that's kind of an advantage. I didn't take Bo Nix, but I thought that maybe it'd be easier to kind of have all 3 of these players. So if he's throwing the ball, he's kind of getting a majority of his pass catchers. So I have Cortland Sutton, I have Troy Franklin, and I have Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant and Cortland Sutton do a lot more on the 2 wide receiver sets. So when Franklin is going off, it's usually because Pat Bryant was out. But if that's not the case, and they need Franklin's pass catching ability and offensive need if they're down against Buffalo, maybe he's the one that kind of makes an impact against Buffalo, and then it's Pat Bryant on the other side versus either Houston or New England. So in the conference final, so all Denver on that front. So I'm really in on Denver. I did add in some additional pieces just to kind of get as an advanced pieces. So Charbonnet, Zach Charbonnet, Rome Odunze, and Ricky Pearsall. So I added those 3 players in as part of my advanced piece, hoping that they can put up some good scores if needed, and I can kind of get my way through to the conference finals where I just really need to have LA and Denver make it through. If LA and Denver make it through, I have a full team and plus more, so I should be okay on that front. So Any changes? If I had a redo, I kind of went with Harvey, but I could have gone with Shakir as well, and then maybe split them up. The Denver and the Buffalo stack, like sorry, the Denver, the Buffalo pieces, as part of the AFC bring back for my Rams. But I would be losing. I think I would be losing, half my team in the conference finals, based on this matchup, Denver Buffalo. So, but at the same time, like I said, Shakir put up 20 points. Cortland Sutton can do the same thing. You've seen that in the games where they're a little bit more high scoring, a little bit closer. He's put up decent scores, 20, 27, 12, 17. So games where they've been a little bit more closer, a little bit high scoring, could be that way in Buffalo, or it could not. He does have a tough matchup on the outside against Benford, but he has capabilities. He's the number one wide receiver, so you always got to take that whenever you get the chance. And you kind of make a stance there, right? So I just went with Denver, and that's how it's going to be. I went with Charbonnet then. Looking back at it, it could have been Charbonnet or Swift. I like Charbonnet, given that game. If it like, I think it goes both ways. If they find themselves down for any reason, they're going to use Charbonnet as a pass catching back, the kind of like the running back they need in the 2-minute drill, and being able to come back, pass catching guy. And also, if they're winning, he's going to get his share of carries regardless around the goal line. So I think Charbonnet makes sense at that point. I took Parkinson then just to make sure I had my tight end as part of my LA stack. Then took Blake Corum again to build up more of my Ram stack. I definitely would have lost him. I think you can't push those guys too much because a lot of people are looking at Parkinson, Corum, or Higbee as part of that, trying to get that side of the NFC, trying to get the Ram side if they're building from the AFC side. So the players that are building from the New England or building from the Buffalo side want to get the Corum or Parkinson or Higbee side just to kind of get into that. If they believe the LA Rams will make it from the NFC, then they have some access to that for the Super Bowl. So, and I took Troy Franklin as the next pass catcher for Denver, since I felt like I was all in on Denver. Then I took Rome Odunze as part of my, and it was between Rome Odunze and Burden. I went with Odunze just to kind of, I think he has an easier matchup on the outside. And he obviously his major foot injury, but he seemed okay, no setbacks. Was limited in practice this week, but it seems like he'll play. He didn't hurt it, which he wasn't practicing. I think that would have been a way more bigger concern. But he is still practicing, which is good. So I think he'll be good to go against the Rams. And then I do like Nico, and he kind of went there. I would have gone after Nico, just because he is such an awesome pick. If your team advances to the conference final and you have Nico Collins and he comes back from his concussion, he's not playing this weekend against the Patriots, but if Houston makes it through for whatever reason, and you can get Nico Collins as your last round pick in round 11 or 12, that's awesome. So as much as he doesn't help you in this round, but if your team gets through and you have Nico Collins, I think it's a wonderful flyer to take, because if Houston was able to get through, and like I said, it could be anyone's game, right? I think it's maybe a couple plays on defense can be the difference, but anyways, if Nico Collins, like I said, in your 11th or 12th round, he's playing next week, that's a huge bonus to have. So, so I took Pat Bryant at the end because I'm all in on Denver anyway. Let's just take all their pass catchers so I don't miss out. Because it would suck to have Sutton and Franklin and Pat Bryant's the one that goes off, or vice versa, so whichever. So at least I have all three, knowing that, okay, if all three, if one of the three goes off, I have all three that can kind of help me advance. And then I took Ricky Pearsall. He's kind of like Nico Collins in a sense, but he's playing this week, and they're going to need him against Seattle. They're going to need him because Kittle is out. So we've seen how Demarcus Robinson did last week against the Eagles. So it could be that secondary wide receiver. If you look at him and Jennings, it could be that Pearsall is the ones that's able to kind of get open or get free a little bit more. Obviously, a lot of the defensive coverage attention will be on McCaffrey, but you can have those one-on-ones outside for Ricky Pearsall. And like I said, San Francisco is going to need him. If they're going to want to win this game, they got to make some big splash plays. They got to throw that ball vertically, so they're going to need to make sure that if Pearsall is there, that they kind of get him the ball. So once again, another advanced piece, and if I was able to get Denver and LA Rams through, it would look pretty good as we kind of move on in this tournament. So, yeah. So let's do another one here. Let's do another one quickly here. And if you have any questions or if you're joining in, please drop a like, drop your comments in the chat, whatever it may be. I welcome everything. This season's been pretty fun. It's my first time doing YouTube. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and just never got around to it. But I really enjoy drafting. I really like talking about my picks, and at least know that someone's watching. It's better than talking to yourself and not no video or no microphone to kind of capture your thoughts. So it's nice to kind of put this out there. And if it helps anybody, that's just great for me. I love talking about football. And if it helps people with their drafts or helps with their strategies or wherever it may be, that's a bonus for me and something that I'm really happy about. So we go from last to first for this draft. So maybe I can't do the San Francisco Houston one that I want to do. I think ideally you want to be number 4 if you want to go that route. But for this one, I'm going to obviously go with Puka. You saw what he did last week. He's awesome. 18 targets. It's going to be one of those games where he's going to be needed, obviously, again. You got to feed him. You got to feed him the ball. Chicago doesn't really have anybody on the outside that can really stop him. So it's really just, and we're just hoping that Chicago is able to put up the points and makes this more of a shootout, just like last week. That was kind of like the worry last week was were the Rams just going to smash the Panthers, and there's no need for Stafford and Puka and Devontae to kind of really go off or maybe pass it enough. Is it just going to be one of those games where they put up a huge score? And it kind of looked that way. They were up 14-0, and you're like, oh shit, why would they even pass anymore? Maybe they can rest Puka, get ready for the divisional round. But no, the Panthers put up a good fight. Give it credit to them. They put up a big fight, and the Rams were forced to throw and keep up. So so that the hope is that this is the same for this game. That them and the Bears, and it looks like it should be, but them and the Bears are going back and forth, and the Puka, Stafford, and Devontae and Kyron are all needed. It can't just be one of those games where they can kind of just coast to the victory with like a 25 or 30 point lead. So hoping for a little bit of the same for this one. So it's going to be interesting to see who I get back on the way back here. Stafford, Devontae, Kyron. So I'll have the chances are I'll have one of the 3 available to me. Hopefully, you never know, and I can kind of build that way. I think I'm probably going to go with a New England LA type of build here, and so I'll try to see if I can land Drake May. But if I can land Stafford, I'll take Stafford, and then I'll just maybe build out a LA Rams and Buffalo stack there. So hopefully the Josh Allen drafter doesn't need another quarterback, and he takes Devontae Adams, which sucks. But if I can land Stafford, I can kind of build there. So yeah, the JSN one, I'll see. Obviously takes Stafford because that makes sense. But anyways, I did something different. I just want to see what happens. I could have taken Kyron. That would have been the play. But what I'm hoping for is Drake May has 2 running backs that I can try to get. And there's Blake Corum out there. So I want to take Shakir, like I said, just to kind of an advanced piece. I'll take his 20 points if I can get him, and then try to build it this way. So because I know that The reason I did that was because obviously I think the New England and Houston game, it's hard to go in all in on them, just because like it's going to be very defensive, like a defensive battle, and so what I'm going to be missing out on is a lot of points if I just kind of was to stack on New England. So I think it'd be very hard to press point. Like it's gonna be a very close game, and I think defensively it's going to be very hard to put up big scores unless like somehow Stevenson goes off for 3 touchdowns, which could happen. But at the same time, like it's Houston defense. Like let's be real a little bit. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I am going to try to go for try to add some New England players in there, but at the same time. Also take advantage of the fact that can add some advanced pieces as well. So I am going to add in Stevenson, and I will let's go with Stephon Diggs. So I'm just trying to build out that way. So right now, if I think about it, if it's a New England was able to get through, at least I do have 3 pieces from there with Drake May, Stevenson, and Diggs. And then if Puka, LA Rams make it through, I at least have Puka in there as well. So So what I did was I took Blake Corum again, and I took Hunter Henry. I was kind of talking about having too many New England players. Well, I guess I've done that. And so what I do have though now is I have a New England and LA build. So I have all pieces I need if they were to get to the Super Bowl. I have all 6. So now I just kind of build out to that this team to kind of get advanced as much as possible. So I'm going to be looking at players I can add, and I think I'll need another running back because, like I said, Stevenson might be hard pressed given the Texans defense. Blake Corum, we're not sure how much he might play. So obviously he's always the backup to Kyron. So in this case, I'm going to try to see if I can sneak in. Yeah, so I'll take it DeAndre Swift here. Um, and then do I kind of go for more Chicago? Yeah, let's go with Luther Burden this time. So, let's just see if we are able to kind of get. In this sense, I'm just kind of hoping that um, why I took Chicago. I took Chicago because it's a shootout, so I'm hoping it does go a high scoring game, and all these players can contribute. But if I look at it, I have Puka and I have Corum to kind of fill in the gaps of my New England team. So I took a running back and a wide receiver from the Bears because, and I also took a running back and a wide receiver from the Bears to kind of fill in the gap of the New England team. So whichever team comes out of the Los Angeles Rams and Bears game, I'll have those be able to kind of go into my team, hoping the New England Patriots are able to make it through. And then I still have I'm still alive for the conference and finals and the Super Bowl. If for any reason, if LA makes it through, I'm good. If the Bears win the game and they kind of make it to the Super Bowl, then I'm good as well. I'm covered on that front too. Just the hope is that New England makes it to the Super Bowl. That's all I need. Yeah, covered on those 2 fronts as well. So I only have one quarterback. I think I'll probably stick to the one. But actually, you know what? Let's take Darnold if he makes it through. At least have a second quarterback. Um, and let's take AJ Barner as well. So I have another tight end. Yeah, I'm loaded up on the NFC side. I will talk about that as well. See if that can help me. I have the chance to get either Booty, Shaheed, Cup, if possibly if I want to add another wide receiver. Since I do have Seattle already. So it does depend on what happens in the next two picks. So kind of point me into the direction of where I want to go. Okay, so I have a choice to make. I'll go with Booty, and that's because I took that secondary stack of Darnold and Barner. So if I needed, if Seattle makes it for some reason, at least I can fit Booty and then into my wide receiver spot there. It'll be all New England, obviously, and then I'll have my flex as AJ Barner. So let's look at the final roster here. So Nico Collins doesn't even go. Dalton Schultz. So no one believes in the Texans in this one. So like I said, it is a good stack to try to get with 49ers and see what happens. Like man, like if those two make it through somehow and never say never, it obviously would pay off big time for sure. So this team started off with Puka Nakua as my wide receiver. I took Drake May and Khalil Shakir. Excuse me. The Khalil Shakir was a one-off, and I'm just hoping for another 15 passes of 60 yards because that'll give me 21 points. Tie that in with a Puka, and Puka's able to put up a big score. That really helps. DeAndre Swift kind of adds into my running back, and Darnold's able to put up a good game. I might be okay to kind of get my New England Patriots stack through because, like I said, might be a very close game for New England, low scoring. So just relying on the New England to kind of get me through will be very hard. I do need those other pieces on my team to kind of get me through to the conference finals. And if New England makes it through, then the next game, obviously versus Denver, won't be easy, but maybe Buffalo could be another shootout as we've seen the last two games they had during the regular season. But sorry, got to get back into it. Drake May is my quarterback, Puka Shakir, and I took Stevenson as my running back, Stephon Diggs as my wide receiver. So three New England Patriots right there. Then I took Blake Corum to kind of add into my Nakua LA Ram stack. Then I took Hunter Henry. So now if you look at my team, you have Drake May, you have Ramondre, you have Diggs, and now you have Hunter Henry. So 4 out of the 6 would be New England Patriots. And if I look at the Rams, they can fit at the other 2 slots as the flex and as the wide receiver. I did then take 2 Chicago Bears. So in case the Bears win out of the Rams, I still have the same type of plugging in I can do for the Super Bowl. I have the DeAndre Swift as my flex, and then Luther Burden as my wide receiver. Then I took Sam Darnold. He was still there in the draft, and so I think a good pick as my second quarterback. Like if Drake May's score is not high enough, as you know, the quarterback score does matter. The highest scoring player usually on the usually can be the highest scoring. Actually, maybe not for PPR, but for point half PPR or non PPR. Obviously, the quarterback is your highest score. But I took this just in case, maybe the 49ers game is a shootout as well, and they have to put up points. So maybe Darnold can put up a good score for quarterback. And I took AJ Barner as well. So if it came down to it, if it came down to a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, I added in a booty just to kind of make sure I have 5. I have 5 New England Patriots I can fit into my roster, and then add a Barner as my flex. So I am covered on. So I'm basically kind of hoping for a New England Super Bowl representation from the AFC, and then hoping from the NFC. I'm covered on both fronts. I have the LA Rams, Chicago Bears, and the Seattle Seahawks. So no 49ers players. So I'm hoping any three of these teams make it through, with at least 2 of them making it to the conference finals. So the hope is obviously that the LA Rams or the Chicago Bears make it through, and I'm guaranteed at least to get one of them in the conference finals. It'll just be the other side hoping that Seattle wins, and so I'm good. So potentially I could be losing two players from this team. Obviously, I'll be losing two players because of the LA and Chicago Bears game, but if the other two teams make it through, if three of the teams make it through that I have on here, that's pretty much a really good situation for me. And then hopefully the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl. So a little bit of a different build. I went with New England this time. So yeah, it's important, like I said, to have those stands, and we are almost going to be done here. How many entries do I have left now? I think. So we're at 16 entries. We only have 4 entries left. So like I said, I do want to kind of get that McCaffrey and Texans one. But like let's do one more, and then let's see if I'm able to kind of build that stack on the live here, and that'd be awesome. So I can technically try to build that stack. So how would I play this then? Just trying to think. Sorry, out loud. If I was to skip over Josh Allen and take McCaffrey, probably take Cook. And then maybe I use Devontae Adams as my piece to kind of help me get through. Just Schultz, or use Stafford, and then don't use Purdy or CJ Stroud. But if I take Nico Collins, I'm going to need a big score from a wide receiver. Sorry, I'm just thinking out loud as to how I could do this. The biggest thing is obviously I'm missing out on a big wide receiver if I don't take one. Just trying to think of whether I should take Devontae Adams or Matthew Stafford, and then just maybe take a Purdy or a Stroud, and just hopefully just use that Stafford quarterback score to kind of get through. I could possibly get Shakir to kind of help me with those 2 points, but it just depends on whether I think Devontae Adams can help me get through. Maybe I use a Loveland to kind of help me get through. Yeah, this is a unique one. This is going to be a little bit of a unique one in terms of how I'm going to build this. Like I said, we're going to go all in on a 49ers and Houston stack to see if I can try to somehow, if they end up in the Super Bowl, like I said, it's going to be a unique combo. So I'm trying to see if I can, which pieces around them I will need to kind of advance is the biggest thing. That's going to be the biggest key is to even getting the team through. You can have the right, like I said, have the right stacks, but if you don't have the key pieces to kind of advance you in the next 2 rounds into the final, it's very hard. It doesn't matter who you have or whatever, how unique your combo was. So, okay, so I'm going to take McCaffrey here. I don't want to risk missing out because I just never know. So I'll take McCaffrey. I'm hoping the other guy takes Josh Allen and James Cook. And then I have a little bit of dilemma as to who I think. See, Stafford gives me that 20 points that I need. And then where are Purdy and Purdy are going around 37. Yeah, so I'll take Devontae Adams trying to help me through. And then, so let's just figure out where all the San Francisco 49er players are. all in the back of the draft. Like, it's crazy. No one believes, man. No one believes. So let's take Kenneth Walker here because I'll need him there. And let's take a Colston Loveland. So now I'm just going to build out my team with the 49ers and see. I'm just hoping these three players can help me kind of advance. Damn, this is going to be interesting. Very interesting. So I have 4. I need 8 more. I think I'll take out Jennings. Okay, boys and girls, let's see what I can do. I feel like this is one of the dumbest things, but it is what it is. Sometimes you got to go all in. So let's see what I'm doing here. God, I feel like so weird even pressing all these names at this time in the draft. So I think I'm gonna leave Woody Marks. Reason being is that I don't think I'll need him. Because I'm gonna need. Yeah, I gotta. I don't think Woody Marks is the guy. Yeah, because I have McCaffrey. Like honestly, at the end of the day, McCaffrey outscores like Woody Marks on one leg. So taking Woody Marks here and then risking not having a couple of tight ends because if Colston Loveland's out, then eventually I'm going to need 2 tight ends to kind of get through, and there are big pieces of the offense. So Jesus, like this team is like, yeah, I feel like I'm going in a reverse order. Like I'm not even drafting from 1 to like whatever 12. I'm drafting 12 to 1. Oh my God, these guys are probably thinking, what the hell is this idiot doing? Picking Jake Tonjes over Barner, Cooks. Cooks is still Brandon Cooks. Like, come on, C.J. Stroud over the booty and the corn booty and Franklin. Like, man, yeah, it is what it. Guys, hey, listen, if this works out, oh man, all I gotta say is, oh man. We've done it, folks. I've completely lost my mind. Your dad has lost his mind. He is drafting like he just believes the 49ers and the Houston Texans will meet in the Super Bowl. Um, but at the end of the day, if I get through, watch out now. The Beatnuts would say. If anyone understands that reference, leave a comment. Um, so do I take Jaden Higgins or try taking another advanced piece? Do we take a DJ Moore or a Dunze? Get me through. Fuck it, let's just take DJ Higgins. We're all in it. We're all in, people. We're all in. We are all in on a San Francisco 49ers and a Houston Texans Super Bowl with a little bit of Devontae Adams, Kenneth Walker, and Colton Loveland to help me kind of get through. But we're all in, people, right? We got Brock Purdy, we got Christian McCaffrey, we got Jake Tonjes, we got Ricky Pearsall. We got 49ers. And on the AFC side, we have Christian Kirk. Okay? Christian Kirk came out of nowhere for that one. Oh my God. And I don't think he's going to repeat it this weekend. It's not going to happen. Everyone's on Christian Kirk, but it's not going to happen. But anyways, let's see. Christian Kirk, CJ Stroud, Nico Collins, if he comes back for the conference finals, watch out now. And then Dalton Schultz with Jaden Higgins. So I got 5 and 4 49ers. I am all in. I'm going to be using Devontae Adams, Kenneth Walker, and Colton Loveland to help me get through. But there we have it, people. If it happens, it's going to be really good. Looking back at this team, I possibly miscounted, and I probably, looking back at it, now I guess in a sense, like, would have taken Stafford, but that doesn't really make a difference, I think. Like I was saying, if San Francisco was to get through, McCaffrey's probably putting up big scores, so maybe I shouldn't have taken Kenneth Walker here. I think maybe a Khalil Shakir would have made sense. So that's one mistake I made. I probably, looking back at it, I probably should have taken Shakir here. Gotten Shakir, so at least my wide receivers will be good. Then stuck with Colston Loveland. Still taking Purdy. And then maybe I could have pushed the Kirk back to one round and taken Swift. And then just Tonjes next, Stroud, Collins. So maybe that's something I would have redone. I probably wouldn't have taken Walker there because I know I have McCaffrey. He's probably going to be good for 25 points. And then taking a Shakir to kind of secure that wide receiver part of it. And then taking Loveland to kind of get the tight end points. And then Brock. And then taking a second running back, possibly Swift. Just to kind of help get me through. So yeah, that's one thing I probably made a mistake. But anyways, it is what it is. We're all in on Houston and San Francisco as a one-off, just to have fun. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it happens, I'm probably laughing. And I'll definitely come back on the live here and walk you through this team and kind of replay this live. But once again, thank you everybody for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this last best ball draft for the 25-26 season. I hope you enjoyed this channel. Hope you enjoy my videos. If there's anything I can work on, please feel free to leave a comment. Positive, negative, whatever it may be. Just like to interact with the people out there. And if you are playing best ball, if you're playing daily fantasy for this weekend, best of luck to you. I did try to talk you through some of the picks that I made based on this weekend, but I really like that LA game and Chicago game to be a fun game. So pieces from there are really going to help. I like the Seattle running game. I think I don't think they want Darnold to have the ball in his hands, so they're going to try to rely on the running game to kind of beat San Francisco like they did in Week 18. So I think they're going to stick to that formula. But Sharps is always going to be a good pick. Colton Loveland and tight end is balling out, so I think that should continue. But maybe keep an eye out for Jake Tonjes taking over that Kittle role completely. So he's a good fit in that one as well. Ricky Pearsall is playing, so he's a good fit in there. Someone's gonna have to replace Nico Collins against the Texans. So is it Christian Kirk based on last week? It's hard to say. That's really just 1 week. It's not like he's been going off for a few weeks now and Nico Collins is out, so they should eat. It could be possibly Jaden Higgins or even a Xavier Hutchinson that plays quite a bit when Nico Collins is out. The last 2 games he's been out, he's put up double-digit fantasy points. So don't forget about Xavier Hutchinson. He's only 3,400 on Draftkings. And if he puts up 10 to 12 points, that's not bad, right, for 3,400 on a 4-game slate. So really look out for him. I really like him. Defenses, obviously Texans, Patriots. You could possibly look at the Rams if you think Caleb's going to make mistakes. You could obviously go play the Bears. The Panthers, almost had them. And if you think Stafford's, finger injury hasn't been talked about much. They seem like he's okay, but if that acts up in the cold or flares up, or he gets hits again and he's not playing or he's not playing 100%, that could be a problem. So Seattle's defense obviously stopped 49ers. If you think that's going to happen again, that's a good defense to pick as well. So defenses are hit or miss. It's going to go maybe play around a few of them in your lineups. But yeah, that's it for the DFS side. Once again, if you have any comments or anything like that, please feel free. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to be in on Fantasy Football Dad drafting for the next season. We'll start early as preseason. Once Super Bowl is over, drafting begins. It's good to kind of get some early, ADP on some players that might be free agents that are moving on and you think could possibly land a better spot. So that's always good, and that's always interesting to make sure that there's some key free agents, especially running backs like a Zach Charbonnet or Tyler Algier. Some of those running backs are free agents now, so maybe they're going to be moving on to their own team and being able to be the RB1. So that'd be very interesting to see where they end up and how well they do. So subscribe to the channel and definitely like this post, like this video as we do more content. All right, take care. Enjoy the playoffs, enjoy the divisional round, enjoy the conference finals, and enjoy that Super Bowl. Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend.